Hello everybody, and welcome back to my sunroom on this beautiful day in the middle of July in East Tennessee. I hope you all are just having a fabulous summer. I love this time of the year. Everything's growing and blooming, and back in my sunroom it's just nice and warm back here all day long. It's around 80 degrees Fahrenheit and I love that type of weather. So I wanted to give you an update today on my miniature Phalaenopsis that I placed in water culture for 2 weeks because they were not doing so well in the sphagnum moss that I'd been growing them in. The moss was just not drying out in between waterings well enough, and they started not liking the moss. So I put them in water culture, I got some roots growing, and then about 2 weeks ago I placed them in Orchiata small bark, and they've done really well. So I wanted to show you their progress, let you see what they look like right now, and kind of give you some special care tips when you're repotting your Phalaenopsis orchids in the middle of the summer, like I did a few weeks ago. So I placed my Sogo Vivian and also my red poker in the small Orchiata bark. And here's what that looks like. It's very small actually, and I have extremely small child hands. So that's what that looks like. I have noticed that I was only having to water them about once every week to 10 days in the New Zealand sphagnum moss. Like I said, it just wasn't drying out well at all. But right now, since it's summertime and the temperatures are 80 to 85 degrees in our area right now, and you know, the long days also I think that it also makes a difference as to how often you're going to be watering your smaller plants especially. I'm having to water these about every 3 days now after I've repotted them. Now it's summertime, so I'm watering them right after they've been repotted every 3 days. They dry out quicker when they're in brand new bark. I would say that by October, November, when we start getting cooler weather here, I'm probably going to be able to extend that out to 5 to 7 days. They just don't take up as much water in the cooler weather and the shorter day lengths. So I'm thinking that probably by fall it'll be every 5 or 7 days, and I can deal with that. So right after you repot your orchids in the summer, your Phalaenopsis orchids in the summer, you have to really keep an eye on it. You can certainly repot them in the summer, but just keep in mind that your temperatures are higher, and so you're going to have to make sure that your bark isn't drying out faster than it normally is. And I'm very happy to report that my Faux Sogo Lawrence Tahiti Sunset that I repotted, it is doing a lot better. I was kind of concerned because the leaves were puckering before I started this one on water culture, but the water culture just really did a good job in hydrating this plant before I placed it in bark. Now, the root system to this one is the roots are larger, they're thicker than on my other minis. And so I decided to put this one in some medium bark. My other Tahiti Sunset is in medium bark as well, and it just does fantastic. It's rather huge. So I'm looking for this one to do the same in this bark. So let me show you what the medium size looks like. You can tell a big difference between the sizes of the small and the medium. So if you've got some miniatures that have very small, like thin roots, I would suggest the small, especially if you have an environment like mine here in East Tennessee. And then with the medium-sized ones, the medium-sized bark has done really well. So I'm looking for this one to thrive like my other one does. I'm not sure that they are exactly the same plant. They should be. I bought them together and they do have very similar characteristics, but the coloration and actually the shape of the bloom is somewhat different. Let me show you my other one and you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see how they're similar, but they're not quite the same? And the size of the plant. This plant is gigantic. It's in a 10-inch pot right now. So I don't know that they're the same thing, but I'm hoping for the smaller one that it's going to take off like this one. That's my hope for the other little plant. And also my new additions to my collection got placed in the small orchiata bark. Here is my Foulmata Kingalina, and she has done well. The new leaf that she has right here has grown. As a matter of fact, it's probably doubled in size since I got it. And then I can tell that this leaf has grown as well. So she's happy, and I'm very happy to report that she's happy. And my sweet friend Sarah told me, Miss Amy, that needs to be watered twice a week. So she's on a regular Monday, Thursday watering schedule. A lot of you ask me how soon I fertilize after I repot. I don't wait a long time. After they've been in their new home, after I've repotted them and they've been in their new home for about a week, I go ahead and I fertilize them. I forget to do that if I don't keep them on a really good schedule, and I've noticed that it actually helps them to establish in their pots quicker, I believe, when I just give them about a week before I fertilize them. So that's how I do that anyway. And also here is my Neophenetia falcata. I've had this one for about a month now, and it's just doing super well. When they're this small, when you got a plant that's this size, you know, I really like to keep an eye on it, especially when it's a new addition. I know that these grow fans, which I find just fascinating. But I watered this about every 4 or 5 days. I watch it just to make sure that it doesn't dry out too much between waterings. But in the small orchiata, I have found that that's working, at least for this time of the year. I'm going to be interested to see in the winter how long I'm going to be able to go between waterings, but probably not more than 5 or 6 days, I wouldn't think. There's not a lot of information on how often to water these. So I'm just watering as I see that it needs it. I watered this today, and when I see that the moisture is about halfway down the pot, then I go ahead and I re-water it, and he seems to be liking his home. He seems to be liking what I'm doing. So that's the main thing. Do what makes your plants happy, because a happy plant makes a happy grower. That's what I always say. And several of you have asked me, have I converted all of my plants over to orchiata bark? The answer is no. I decided to leave the Cattleyas in the New Zealand sphagnum moss, and also this huge dendrobium right over here in the corner that has 2 keikis, and she's just, whoa, she is just going crazy over in that corner. She has been in moss for about 5 years and just thrives. So I kind of allow the plant to pick its medium. The Cattleyas are doing really well, and also that dendrobium, I'm just thinking, you know, if you're happy in your home, then I'm happy for you. So I'm not going to be changing those plants over, but all of my Phalaenopsis orchids will eventually be placed in orchiata bark, and that's all. So that is my plan for right now. And I will leave you with this beautiful shot of my Foul Fuller sunset. I love the colors of this Foul. It kind of reminds me of sunflowers, and I wanted to let you all know my sunflowers are doing well. My friend Sue told me how to get them started in cups inside, or, you know, underneath some cover away from my critters. She said, don't place them outside too soon. Wait until they're about 12 to 18 inches tall and then plant them. And I have got some sunflowers that are growing right now. I can't wait to share the blooms to those with you all. I've never grown sunflowers before, and it's just something I've always wanted to do. So, Sue, thank you for the heads up on how to successfully grow sunflowers. I also want to thank all of you for all of your awesome comments. Thank you for your questions. They make me think. I have been growing orchids now for 20 years, and I still learn something all the time about these awesome plants. So thank you all for your friendship, for your kind words. And before we go, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your plants, and your families. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you and your families his shalom peace. You all make it a great day. We'll talk to you all next time.